Most theories about what'll take place in Avengers 4 have to do with time travel and the fates of existing characters. But one interesting fan theory suggests that the character Galactus may be joining the cast. He's a massive force in the comic books, and his existence could mean big changes for all of the MCU, so just imagine the carnage that'll ensue if he ends up in Avengers 4. And no, not that carnage. Before we dive into this fascinating fan theory about Galactus, subscribe to CBR and ring that bell to join our notification squad so you never miss any of our MCU videos in the future. Without further ado, let's get started. It seems like Avengers 4 is one we just can't stop talking about. After all, Avengers Infinity War took away so many of our favorite heroes. All we can do is think about how they're going to come back. But in addition to existing beloved characters, we're hoping to get to see new characters added to the cast of the next movie. Marvel had been teasing us that Thanos would show up for quite some time, so while we loved seeing him during Infinity War, it wasn't a total surprise. We also saw Loki, at least for a brief period of time, who's another well-known staple villain in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But today, we're going to talk about a very different villain that you might just get to see on the big screen in Avengers 4. Galactus is a character created by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, who made his first appearance in the comic book Fantastic Four number 48 way back in 1966. Although we love our Marvel villains, we have to admit that sometimes they do get to be a bit stereotypical at times. Most of them want nothing more than to rule the world for no real reason other than an insatiable lust for power. And then we have the villains who purely exist in order to be a foil for a specific superhero. These are characters like Bizarro and Venom, who are closely linked to a specific hero. But in 1966, Stan Lee and Jack Kirby wanted to shake things up and develop a very different type of villain which broke away from stereotypes. Even the origin story of Galactus stands out from traditional villain origins. He started out as an intrepid humanoid space explorer named Galen, who hailed from a previous incarnation of Earth 616 on the planet Ta. This place was a veritable utopia, and its citizens were supposedly the most advanced in the entire universe at that point in time. This particular universe underwent a big bang, which caused matter to expand outwards, causing stars and planets to form. But after spending billions of years expanding through space, it suddenly contracted, causing a serious issue. Ta's residents were hanging on, but just barely. This cosmic event was causing lethal amounts of radiation to manifest, rapidly eliminating all forms of life. Galen was sent out far into the cosmos to find a solution which would save the planet Todd. Sadly, he was unable to do so and realized the last of his people were absolutely doomed. He proposed that he and his fellow survivors would go out in a blaze of glory by piloting their starship right into the heart of the cosmic egg catastrophe. The only problem with Galen's plan was that he survived while all of his cohorts were destroyed by a massive dose of radiation. Galen ended up acquiring superpowers, taking on the mantle of Galactus. Now, you might be wondering how this origin story differentiates Galactus from other villains. Sure, he gained powers during a freak accident, which is laughably common in the MCU, but the difference is that Galen transcended his human life and became much more of a godlike figure as Galactus. While other villains are filled with petty grudges and an obsession with personal gain, Galactus operates completely outside of the bounds of morality. Don't get us wrong, Galactus definitely does bad things to a lot of people. He sustains himself by draining living planets of their energy, which, as you can imagine, has some dire consequences. But like most other universes, the MCU has to have a balance. Galactus is a force of nature, and he's been both a protagonist and antagonist at times. His motivation is simply to quell his eternal hunger for more energy, and he's definitely a larger-than-life character. Avengers Infinity War made it clear, without a shadow of a doubt, that the very fabric of the MCU is now being explored. Movies like Guardians of the Galaxy and Thor have taken us far away from Earth and forced us to examine how many places exist in the MCU and what their relationship is to one another. As we examine these type of big-picture questions, it makes sense that this would be the perfect time to introduce Galactus into the MCU. While Thanos is still alive and well, he's definitely in a different state by the end of Infinity War. His Infinity Gauntlet and his hand have been burnt up by use, and his morale seems to be pretty low. We wouldn't be surprised if this means it's time for a different type of villain to show up, and we think Galactus fits the bill. There's a pretty popular fan theory out there that believes the Infinity Stones have been guiding the actions of the Avengers for a long time now. During Avengers Age of Ultron, we saw Thor have a vision concerning the Infinity Stones. In his vision, he's warned by Heimdall that the end is upon them. As we all know, the next movie was Thor Ragnarok, in which, as the name implies, we see Ragnarok taking place. So we know this part of the vision came true, and the other part involved Thor catching a glimpse of 4 of the Infinity Stones. The vision confused some fans, and many wondered if the Mind Stone itself played a part in the God of Thunder's prophetic vision. The Infinity Stones are immensely powerful artifacts, with some believing they were shaping the destiny of the Avengers and ultimately the universe. Thor even mentions that someone is making pawns of them, and many people believe that the one pulling the strings was Thanos. But it's possible there was a much more powerful cosmic entity involved in all of this. It's also possible that the Mind Stone hoped Thor would be the one to construct and wield the Infinity Gauntlet in order to restore or maintain Asgard's considerable power, and maintain a greater sense of balance in the universe. But of course, we all know this didn't end up happening. Thanos collected all of the Infinity Stones and used his gauntlet to wipe out half of all life in the universe. Although Thanos seems to believe his actions are strangely altruistic, they must have thrown things seriously out of whack. Asgard was once a seat of great power in the universe, but as we saw in Thor Ragnarok, it's been destroyed. Things in the MCU are looking incredibly dire and off-balanced, which means the world is in a precarious position. Further highlighting the plight of Asgard and the role Thor is meant to play in the saga of the Infinity Stones is the fact that Thor nearly took down Thanos using Stormbreaker. But now, it's possible an ever greater threat than Thanos will be introduced in Avengers 4, and that could be Galactus. As we're sure you can imagine, defeating Galactus is no easy feat, and the Avengers would need every last bit of help they can get. This might even mean getting assistance from the person who put them in this situation, Thanos himself. Now, if you're a comic fan, you know the comic book version of Thanos wiped out legions of people because he was trying to impress a lady. Yet in Infinity War, it seemed Thanos did it out of a warped sense of duty. He had to sacrifice everything, including Gamora, in order to do so. Sure, he did pitch her off a mountain, but he clearly showed a great deal of remorse about it. We aren't saying it means he's secretly a really nice guy, we're just saying that it may lead him to eventually want to try to fix the situation he created. If an even greater threat might destroy all of life in the universe and not just half, would Thanos step in to help stop things? Galactus has been an important part of Marvel Comics for a long time. He was once listed as one of the top 100 comic book villains by IGN in 2009, and it was noted that Galactus is one of the most important villains ever created. Actor Stefan Kapicic plays Colossus in the movies, and he's a big fan of Marvel Comics. Now, we all know about the Disney-Fox merger and that characters such as Deadpool, the Fantastic Four, and the X-Men may be making their way into the MCU. When asked about what characters he would like to see join the official MCU, Kapicic mentioned that he would love to get the chance to see Galactus on the big screen. According to Kapicic, a massive enemy like Galactus would be just the thing to bring a ton of different people together in order to defeat him. He even mentioned Thanos and the actions he put in place during Infinity War, specifically noting that there are so many beautiful arcs and so many beautiful stories. We definitely agree with him here, and we would love to see Galactus make his way into the MCU. But of course, we admit this could be a lot of wishful thinking. Us comic book fans certainly tend to do that. Throwing in an unfamiliar character, especially one as huge and legendary as Galactus, would be a big deal. It would require a ton of setup and would definitely be a difficult thing to pull off well. This runs the risk of seriously diluting Galactus, and because he's such a larger-than-life character, that would be a massive tragedy. Also, if Thanos was going to be helping out the Avengers, we worry the studio might try to twist this into some sort of redemption arc. We know very few characters are black or white when morality is concerned. Loki is constantly trying to conquer Asgard, but we've also seen him risk his life in order to save it. The reason anti-heroes like Deadpool are so much fun to watch is because they're morally ambiguous at times, instead of always doing the right thing or always doing the wrong thing. Although Thanos might be capable of empathy, his actions have been what many people would call unforgivable. He was sad about killing his daughter, but he still did it without hesitation, and he only acquired his daughter in the first place by kidnapping her and destroying her real family. Thanos isn't gonna win Father of the Year anytime soon, and many fans believe it would be ridiculous to try to redeem him. Having an enemy like Galactus show up and having Thanos help stand against him could potentially water down both of their characters, and that might be too big a risk for Marvel. They spent so many years building Thanos up and establishing his character that having him turn sides now might be too confusing and feel too forced. As far as Galactus is concerned, he's such an important character, so we would want to see his addition to the MCU handled with the utmost care. Already, the existence of the Infinity Stones threw a wrench into things, and now we're probably going to be adding substantial time travel to the to-do list for Avengers 4. Galactus is amazing, but he's so imposing that he might be just too much to add to a movie, which will already have so many moving parts. If this theory holds true, Avengers 4 is shaping up to be one hell of a movie. Do you think adding Galactus into Avengers 4 would be a good or bad thing? Let us know in the comment section below, and don't forget to subscribe to CDR for more MCU videos just like this one. Thanks for watching.